Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2Mnet podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling. You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
Hello and welcome to another Video Games to the Max. This is episode 243 of the show, and I am your host, Sean Garman. Of course, this is the official video games podcast at W2Mnet.com, and we're in partnership with Last Word on Life as well, part of the Last Word on Sports. And here, as with me as always, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
And well, there has been, as we get closer and closer, we're almost pretty much a month away now from the consoles releasing to start that next gen, even though a lot of the games, again, won't really be next gen for a while, but, still, we're getting, we got a lot of info, and we'll talk about that, between PS5, basically showing you all the parts, to Sony finally really revealing how, save transfers are going to work and game transfers and everything, to bad rumors, to other things, Microsoft revealing their commercial, and even Microsoft getting involved into GameStop too. So we'll talk about all that stuff. But just because there's so much to talk about, there's just been this game that maybe a lot of people don't know too much about because not everybody is big into playing things involving solitaire. But Mark, you've been playing this Solitaire Conspiracy.
Yep.
I
got it like one day and I beat it in one day.
It was that short.
I read and then I reviewed it the next day. I wrote my review that night. It's basically, it looks like a cyberpunk solitaire game. Like it's all neon and black, blacks.
Yeah.
It's really cool looking. I think it's built in 3D also. It's just, different than most solitaire games. Let's say that. So yeah, you have two columns and you have a third column in the middle. And that's where you're supposed to place the ace, 2, 3, 4 card, build up a pile. And you drag cards from the other columns, on top of each other, in, a descending order. You can't place a higher card above a lower card. You can place, lower on top of higher. And the whole trick is, trying to get the lower cards, out of a pile, and then the 2 cards and the 3 cards and stuff like that. It's really cool. It has, full motion video with Greg Miller, which is less cool.
Hey.
I'm kidding. He's fine. But, yeah, it's neat. The only problem with the game is really short. I finished it in, under 3 hours. And I think I read the GameSpot review, and they said they finished it in 5. And I was like, you losers. Basically just have to get up to, rank 15, and the game is over. And it ends with this, choice, but, you don't actually pick a side. So it's you basically have a choice of picking between, the good guy and the bad guy, but you don't pick anything. It just ends. And it's this is really weird.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I like it a lot. It's really nice looking. Good music. Yeah, I mean, it's a short game, and I think, the full price is only $12, which is good. If it was, a $40 game, I'd be more pissed. But it's, it's in the same price range as, most other solitaire offshoots. So, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important part is that, it still stands up to the other, solitaire games of its ilk.
Well, it's not as long,
right.
Regency Solitaire, or Solitaire, what the hell they're called. Let me check.
Yeah, but at least
Dual
it's not,
Max Solitaire, or 200, they have 200 levels. This has 30, maybe 40.
Yeah, at least it doesn't wear out its welcome, though. It gets to the point,
yeah,
and then...
Right.
It's not... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I quite like it, but I just wish there was more of it, I mean, it's a game that left me wanting for more, honestly.
Yeah, well, maybe it'll do well and they can make a number 2.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully. I don't know how, I don't know much about the developer, but he's done other stuff, so good on him, I guess.
Yeah, that's the important part. Yeah, I mean, I think it should do fine. I saw some other, like, Giant Bomb did a quick look for it, and, it's getting some
Oh, it's getting a
press,
positive buzz for sure, yeah.
Which, I mean, you don't normally see for games like that. It's usually, like, very niche and...
Yeah, like the last one I can think of is Regency Solitaire, and that was like 6 years ago.
Yeah, oof. That long ago, yeah.
Maybe 5, but yeah, I was up there.
That tells you enough right there.
Yeah.
So speaking of, because you mentioned GameSpot, unfortunately, they had to endure some layoffs due to being acquired by Red Ventures, and that's always the issue that kind of doesn't get talked about enough sometimes about these acquisitions. Yes, it pumps more money into the site so that they can keep existing, but a lot of times you get people get let go because they start wanting to put their own people in or just say, okay, let's there's redundancies in certain. Like, we don't need this many people covering this department. Like, we can certainly...
Well, like business or like stuff like that. That's more obvious because, like, you don't need 2 of the same business, 2 of the same accountants.
Well, and they may just say, okay, we don't need 20 reviewers. We just need 15, or we just need this many people doing news or whatever. Like I don't know. Mark doesn't know. We really don't know the amount of people that got laid off. All we know is that there are certain major people, like Ashley O, who used to be with Polygon, if I'm not mistaken, and she's been let go. She made a big announcement about it on Twitter. Will Fulton, who's part of the Australian team, and a lot of the Australian team.
Yeah, well,
various
GameSpot Australia's done.
Yeah, which is terrible because I always saw good content coming out of the GameSpot Australia. Constantly would see. Yeah, go ahead.
The one that I liked was Jess Edwards? Or no, Jess, what's her last name?
McDonald?
Yeah, McDonald, thank you. Yeah, I liked her quite a bit. She had a good personality, and it's a bummer she's gone.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, like, Ashley or Jess McDonald will probably get, other gigs, but it just sucks and this is a pretty, big site, losing people.
Yeah.
And that, that's why some people talk about having these mergers or these buyouts or whatever. This is the bad side of what happens on that end. I mean, even the great Disney had to let people go, 28,000 people let go from their parks because of the pandemic. So, that's also terrible for those folks.
Well, at least that's a little more understandable since their parks haven't been open.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, GameSpot's still putting out content regardless of what's going on, but yeah, it's just still not great. And heart goes out to those people. Hopefully you get jobs pretty quick here. And, well, let's go into some, cooler news. More, again, lots of news between Microsoft and Sony this week. And some of it different. Some of it stuff we've been kind of wanting to hear for a while. And some of it just bad. So let's start on the Sony end because they released a video showing off the teardown of the PS5, which was basically showed you they had this huge heat sink in the system to avoid it getting hot, and they showed you how to screw and unscrew the stand. That you have to use a screwdriver.
I thought the stand looked cool.
Yeah, it did look cool. You also they showed the screw that you have to undo to get the SSD drive out, which again not very complicated, but I can see a lot of people don't want to mess with their systems, and I can understand that. Start trying to get a tech person to their house to uninstall
do something that takes 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I was scared to do it on my end. I was more scared of losing all the not necessarily the saves, but like just everything when I did it, because you have to do that whole like making sure you have the correct update downloaded and all the like the firmware that goes into the PS5 to make the PS5 work, and you have to like load that back into the PS4. That was the part that worried me. It wasn't so much taking this hard drive and replacing it, was that. But then once I did it, I was like, oh, no problem, no big deal. And now I have 1 terabyte drive in there or whatever. So,
ditto.
yeah, so hopefully it looks like the PS5's very similar. Again, regardless of whether you use a priority drive or not, SSDs are going to be expensive. So get ready to shell out somewhere in between $200 if you want to upgrade the amount of gigabyte storage that you have inside your system. Or I guess if you want to buy an external SSD, I guess that's possible too, but you got to make sure it runs at what Sony wants you to make your games work the way they should. Microsoft also announced they were going to have people make more of the different kinds of those NVMe things. We'll see what gigabyte amounts they release eventually, but
well, I have to imagine at least one terabyte. I mean,
well, 1 terabyte's the standard that they already have, but like I can totally see them releasing like a 500 gigabyte one.
I doubt that. I mean,
yeah,
maybe, but I just think people just get pissed. They're like, why is it smaller than the drive that's already in there?
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, if all you want is additional storage, you're not replacing it, you're just adding additional storage, which also, I think, that's the thing with the difference between PS5 and PS4 is PS4, you were replacing the drive you had, and then adding more storage. This one apparently just adds more storage to the internal drive.
Because the PS5 one, it's built in, like, into the motherboard, so.
Yeah. So, that's cool, too, is, like, you're now just, like, adding your own external storage, which is cool, and you can kind of, I guess, go back and forth, like if you had an external drive. So, that's cool on that end for the PS5. I think that people are just making a big deal about, I love the fact that we have to fuel this stupid war so much that we have to have people really saying that it's, anti-consumer to make people have to use a screwdriver to make the stand come out.
Well, I mean, think about. I mean, I know you can just plug in a drive, but think about if you wanted to actually upgrade the drive in the Xbox One. You can't technically do it. You got to repart half the system in order to do it correctly, or
No, people were making more fun of the stand. The fact that the stand requires a thing that you unscrew
I wanted to do that because it'll actually be secure. Like, that's the thing.
Well, yeah, like, the thing is, though, too, I'd much rather have it that way. And also, I just love the fact that people that think that listen, most people, here's what you do. Unless you just constantly change what you put your systems in, or you're moving your console around from upstairs to downstairs to, I take it to my friend's house to, I have to take it to work if you happen to work if you happen to, work in a thing where you're constantly mobile and you have to take it with you on a trip or something. But like, that's a very small amount of people. Most people will put it in one thing unless, again, you change your entertainment center because you get a bigger TV or something like that. Which is, again, usually you buy the TV once and you don't move it. And, like, you're not going to constantly be deciding whether you have it upright or you have it to the side, or have it upright to the side. You're going to do it, like, 1 or 2 times, and that's it. Like, people act like it's something that it's this cumbersome thing that's going to be so out of the realm for people to do. It's, just dumb. Come on, guys. I like the jokes of people going, oh, let me go buy a tool set now, or whatever, but the ones just hating on Sony because they gave this, did this was just, it's silly.
I mean, I bought my PS4, sorry, in like 2015, I think, or 2014 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't moved it since. It's been on the top of my original Xbox in my room since I got it.
Yeah, I mean, I moved it because we created that game room And then I, I bought a new stand and made a stand or whatever. So I moved it from upstairs to downstairs. But again, after I did that, it has not moved from there. It is there. I mean, except for one time I took it to my girlfriend's house, and then it's been there and it's been in the same spot. But like, same again, like unless you are constantly moving stuff around in your house, and that's a very rare thing, you're gonna keep it in the same position most of the time. So, I think I would much rather that too than the one that I think that looks like the Series X has. It's just there and kind of hangs off. So, because apparently it needs to stand, I don't know why it needs to stand if it's not sitting, if you put it to the side. Yeah, it needs to stand vertically, but I don't know why it needs it to be on the side. But whatever, I guess. I mean,
the only system you really move around is the Switch because it's literally portable. So. Right,
yeah. But it's just, like, I'd much rather have what the thing the PS5 has where you can decide to have it or not. And whereas with the Xbox, it seems to just be always on there. Or wasn't the PS4 one you had to like buy it separately?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like at least they're not charging you for it.
Think about the PS2, like that vertical stand. I mean, they even had a stupid horizontal stand. And it's like, what? Why? But the vertical one's.
I never bought a stand for the PS2 and put it vertically.
Yeah, but they did have one. I mean, believe me.
Oh, well, I'm sure it did. I'm just saying, like, I just had it on its standing vertically. Yeah.
I mean, I had it horizontal because, I knew that, like, the disc tray and the PS2 sucked.
Yeah. But, it is what it is. It's just people, I guess, getting mad about nothing. But it was cool to get to see that. Like, they pointed out things in the PS5, and it looks like really well designed.
I was like legitimately shocked they put that video out. I was like, what?
Well, Microsoft put one out, I think, like 6 months ago or something.
Yeah, but that's a lot. I mean, that's more pie in the sky. It's not like, a month before launch.
Yeah, like, I didn't even know the Microsoft one existed until I saw the Sony one, and then there was a video like, oh, here's Microsoft's teardown. And I was like, oh, wow, they really did that? I didn't even know. But,
well, it didn't make quite a big impact as the Sony one, but also, the other thing I thought of was, like, the hundreds of YouTubers who are going, like, God damn it, about, now they can't do their own teardown video, or, popular as Sony.
Or, well, like, even Digital Foundry, right? Like, that's normally a thing that they do. Sony did it for them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the one I always watch is, I think, Spawn Wave, or something, Spawncast, I think, or something. Yeah. And, he always does, like, teardown videos, and I'm sure he was like, God damn it.
Yeah. Well, and everybody had the reaction video to this thing that was not given subtitles, so if you didn't know Japanese, you're not...
I watched the Modern Vintage Gamer one about that one.
Any interesting tidbits there? Or?
He said the stand was pretty cool. Like, it was a good feat of engineering.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think that's cool.
Also the system looks pretty modular. Like that, especially that like Blu-ray drive, like that thing just like popped off.
Yeah.
It's like wow. But I'm actually really impressed with the fan situation because I don't know about your PS4, but mine, like certain games make it sound like a jet engine because of that fan.
Oh no. I was playing, what was it? Was it Doom? Yeah, it was Doom.
Yeah.
Like Doom was playing on my Xbox One, and all of a sudden I see this thing go vroom, and I'm like, holy crap. Something that thing's gonna overheat and die.
I mean, that's why. I mean, once I get the PS5, the game of I first play on it is Last of Us 2 because I'm afraid of playing it on my PS4.
Wow. Well, I don't blame you.
I even took apart my PS4, not all the way, but like enough to get to the fan, and I blew it out with compressed air, and that didn't do a damn bit of difference. It's like, damn it.
Well, yeah, and I did appreciate that like apparently on both systems they made it very easy, and Sony said that they wanted you to as well, and I think Microsoft also noted this, is that they want you to clean it out.
Right.
Right? If you can. So, like, that's another thing that I think is so crazy. Like, you would never think to tell people to do that in previous generations, but now it's a thing that, like, they're now encouraging you to do. Just to make sure you keep your thing, not that it's going to overheat, but just to make sure you keep it clean,
Right. I mean, well, also, think about like a Super Nintendo. Like that thing never got hot because it had no moving parts or nothing. Yeah.
Well, and also like the games that it's running is not like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what's funny is like all of a sudden, I think towards the tail end of like after we did the podcast last week to like the middle of this week, there was this big rumor coming around made by a French YouTuber or French like for YouVideo, Ken Bogard, that had come out with this rumor of the Series X gets so hot it's like a microwave. Watch out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you saw Jeff Bakalar and some other people coming out being like, it gets hot, but I don't know where he's getting this idea that it gets hot to the point where you need to worry about like your hand being burnt or your entertainment system it's in being burnt off or
I mean, I'm
whatever.
sure it depends on like his setup, like if it had good airflow or anything stuff like that.
I mean, they have an entire thing in the top that's all meant for the air to come out of. I mean, and it doesn't have this huge heat sink like the PS5 does, but it is built in a way to where the air comes straight pushing out and cools out. And yes, it's going to get hot because it's releasing air. I mean, like, what is he expected to do? Like, I don't know. I just think that it's being overblown because, again, people want this, like, let's have something to be yelling at each other about because it fuels the fire. I don't know.
My problem is there, like the 2013 Mac Pro. That was like that garbage can case, like that form factor. And the biggest problem with that thing was the heatsink, or like the heat flow.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm sure it gets hot. I doubt it gets like as hot as he says, but let's say you're playing a game, a game for like 6 hours, and you touch the back of that thing, it'll be hot. And especially
the other one, the PS4 and Xbox One get hot. Yeah,
but not that hot, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why the PS4 sounds like a jet, because it's cooling off or trying to.
Yeah, I just think that, like, it'll be interesting to see once they're running Xbox, whatever you consider, Series X games, which the first one comes out pretty quick now with the Medium being announced for coming out a month after, which apparently is not coming to Xbox One. And, like, so we'll see, I guess, if it gets super. I just don't know. I feel like Microsoft wouldn't be letting people have preview units if it was having that problem to the point where it's dangerous.
I mean, I could directly see that. Like, I could see them having better units or, getting shipped like, I mean, it's a conspiracy, but shipping like, better made units to the YouTubers or like, CNET guys. And then when it comes out for like, the public, it'll be slightly worse.
No, I mean, like, Sony didn't really give out the PS5 to a bunch of people, and they were very controlled. It was a very controlled message of what they showed off, which they did show off. Bugsnax got some more gameplay, and that's now a launch game, which is cool. It's one of the games I was kind of interested in. I mean, obviously it's still going to PS4 and PC as well, but it's still cool that, it's there. And they showed off some other things, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes. One of the other big things that we kind of been waiting on with PS5 is, especially with Microsoft getting to show off everything backwards compatibility with these preview units, Sony finally kind of came out and talked about how backwards compatibility is going to work. PS4 transfers. We talked last week about how saves are not going to go for every game. And two of the big ones is Yakuza and Dirt 5 right now, which are still the case. And, but the games, this is a really cool feature. Still don't know how if Microsoft is going to work the same way. I think it does. I know that if you just plug in your external drive, you can run the stuff off there, but will it just work the same way that Sony is saying, which is, you sync your login, your PS Plus or just your login for your system, right? And will have all of your games in your library there. Now, you still have to download them again onto the system.
Yeah, but that makes sense. I mean, yeah.
Right, yeah.
They just magically show up.
Right, they're not just going to magically show up on your system, but you can also just put them into a hard drive, right? If you have an external drive, or you can also transfer them over via Wi-Fi from the PS4.
Yeah.
Right, or a LAN cable. You can deal with the LAN cable.
Yeah, you just plug a network cable between the two and go.
You're gonna need 200 gigabytes free for the drive if you use an external drive. But yeah, you can just bring over all of your games instead of having to download them one by one. And you can stream them from the PS4 if you want to, but it's very much the same thing as when Microsoft says you can play the games off the external drive. They won't have the boost in gameplay that you'll get off the PS4. Which makes sense. Like, if you're using it on another system, why are you going to get the PS5, the PS5 upgrade if you're using something else to play it on? And then it's very nice that they also revealed that there's only like 10 games, I think, that don't work on the PS5 right now.
All the big hits.
Which maybe probably the biggest game is Shadow Complex.
Yeah. That's
maybe Hitman Go if you're a huge Hitman Go fan, but you can play Hitman Go on like your phone, so you don't.
Well, it's not Afro Samurai 2, Revenge of Kuma.
Yeah, or TT Isle of Man, which I think they've given away at PS Plus like 3 or 4 different times.
Shadow Complex is like the weird one to me, especially because that's an Unreal Engine game. It's not like Epic. They still exist. Like they didn't shut down, obviously. I mean,
right.
So that's like the odd one. I mean, I think I have a digital version of that, but I know I have a disc version of that from Limited Run. That's the odd one.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like DWVR, which I don't even know what that is. Afro Samurai 2. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't even think you can buy Afro Samurai 2 anymore. Didn't they like cancel that? Or,
yeah, I think so.
Refunded it. They're like, this is terrible. Sorry.
Afro Samurai 2, TT Isle of Man, Right on the Edge 2. Just Deal with It. Shadow Complex Remastered. Robinson: The Journey. We Sing, which that kind of makes sense because there's songs that you have to license.
Yeah.
Hitman Go Definitive Edition, which I'm sure like Rock Band will have some. I don't know if that's going to have some issues of songs like being taken out because maybe they don't have a future game console thing in the contract. I don't know how that's going to work. Shadwin and Joe's Diner.
I was going to say, do you think any of the Rock Band stuff will even like work or guitar?
We'll see. I there's supposedly a post on the Rock Band forums, but I haven't been in there in so long. I need to actually look. But yeah, I'm like, I don't know. So we'll see if I even bother with it.
I'm sure the Rock Band like disc will work. Like if you have that, and even like the download version, and you can probably use those controllers. But like,
yeah, because you still have to have the dongle.
Yeah.
So they said all the peripherals work except for, I think it's like this is the same thing. I think people are very upset about this, but I think this is the same thing as you can't use the PS5 controller to play PS4 games. Yeah. So why would you be able to use the PS5 camera to play PSVR? Like, that doesn't make sense. It was made for PS4. Why would you be able to use a PS5 thing to play a PS4 thing?
Well, I saw one thing about the teardown. Someone was going like, "Oh, it doesn't have a port for the the PlayStation 4 camera," and I was like, "Yeah, they already said it didn't." Like, yeah, because it's gonna be some free thing that they send out to people that have the PSVR. Like, if you want to use your old camera, like that's not news. Like,
well, it's not if you want to use your old camera, you have to use the old camera.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, again, like, I feel like the very small amount of people that are gonna, other than like for Beat Saber or something like that, that's like a continuous game that maybe you play as constantly. I just don't, I don't think that there is a huge amount of people that like playing PSVR. I'm not saying there isn't. Obviously they have like so many million of those things sold, But
Right.
I think there's way more people like you and me that have it sitting there, and after the game's kind of dried up on it, you're not
Well,
playing.
I'm different because I have a Quest, so I actually use that a lot more often than my PSVR. Like, I never had quite enough room for the PSVR either, so that's one thing I've been considering selling to raise money for a PS5. Cause like
I've been considering that too, of how much would GameStop actually. You know what? While we're on this podcast, let's see if GameStop even has that on their website of how much they give out for a PSVR.
I wouldn't go for GameStop, but
well, I mean, if you don't want to do it another way, where oh, did they take that off their site now?
yeah, it looks like from Reddit they did.
Oh, they took it off because you technically can't do trades because of COVID.
Yeah, okay.
Because they don't want to have to touch your stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. Okay, never mind. Oh, never mind. Here it is. It's on the bottom of the site now.
I'm gonna guess $50.
There's the camera. Okay, well, they take this stuff separately. Okay, so the camera you get $24, $22 if you want credit. Or wait, hold on. Oh, they only give you credit. They don't do cash for that.
Yeah, it's not surprising.
Okay. And what about the actual headset? Did they not take that?
Probably not.
Oh, well, yeah, probably not, right? Because it has to be on your head.
Yeah, they disinfect it or do whatever, but they still sell it, obviously. So.
Yeah, they still sell it. Okay, yeah. So that's. Oh, they probably also don't want a bunch of those things sitting in the store.
Yeah.
And nobody they're freaking huge, and nobody buys them, and they're stuck. Yeah, they'll let you sell the camera and the controller, the little aim controller, but not the actual headset.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. I guess you would have to find if you find somewhere to sell it that I don't have to worry about. I'm just so scared with eBay to sell anything because people are so.
No, sell it on Craigslist or Facebook Marketing or Facebook Marketplace. That's it.
Yeah, because eBay people screw people too badly that I don't want to wind up packing something and they go, "Oh, this got a smudge. I want my money back," and then you get screwed. So speaking of GameStop, so all of a sudden out of nowhere, there was a report that Microsoft had made a multi-year partnership with GameStop to basically let GameStop be sort of a Microsoft store where they're going to kind of take over GameStop's back end and they're going to use the cloud and you can they're going to yeah, go ahead.
I read more of the column. It basically sounded like they're just going to have Microsoft programs running their computer systems.
Yeah.
And having every manager will get a Surface tablet because that works so great in the NFL apparently. And
it does work in the NFL. They use it all the time.
Well, wasn't there a few coaches that are just old people and they're like, "What the fuck is this?"
Well, yeah, but if you go to the sideline, you can see every quarterback is looking at the Surface thing to see the plays afterwards. I think this is cool because it gives people a way to use something like the Surface to, it's way better than using the old archaic computer systems that a lot of these stores have. Obviously, this is going to give, they also get bonuses for selling Microsoft stuff. So, there's some stuff.
Prepare to get hassled when you walk into a store.
You already get hassled anyway. What's the difference? I think being able to make all access easier, I think is better as well. It sucks for me because I'm already getting the thing the way it is. But, I think having that all access program there and you explain it to people and you could get a lot of people getting Series X's or Series S's that way that may not walk into a store and really be thinking about the system. Especially during the holidays, I think when people are trying to save money and going, God, what can I get my kid that's not going to cost me $500 or whatever? And somebody walks in and, hey, you can get the Xbox Series X or S for $24 or $34 a month. What? Okay. I'll do that. I mean, not that everybody is. I'm sure if their kids ask for the PS5, they're going to try their darndest to get the PS5. That's what you do. But
Yeah.
maybe there's a call that gets made to that kid and says, hey, I can get you the Xbox right now. Like, you know, would you be okay with that? And then we can get the PS5 later or whatever. You know, I wonder if there would be any changes, people would change their minds considering that would be available to them if they walk into GameStop, you know. Obviously, you still have to have the stock, right? It's not like those consoles come out of thin air. But, yeah, I don't know. I think, but this is a good for GameStop, right? Obviously GameStop's still having to fit the bill. They're still going to have stores closing and everything. But maybe this gets them some attention. Maybe people will go into the store more. I'm not sure. Do you think that this maybe leads to, if there's a, you know, surplus and people go into GameStop, maybe Microsoft winds up buying GameStop at some point?
No.
Because they're closing a lot of the Microsoft stores.
Yeah, I don't think they really want to get into it, like owning a bunch of little, building, taking over retail spaces.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could see them consolidating maybe and just having not so many.
Oh, speaking of that, like a few weeks ago, I actually went to a Think Geek store.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
How was that?
Weird, because it was basically like a GameStop without games. And a lot more Funkos.
Oh, I'd imagine that, yeah.
But the funniest part was, the Think Geek store was 2 spaces down from the GameStop.
I'm surprised they're both still there.
Well, I said, wouldn't you want to put these kind of at the opposite ends of the mall? Like, not literally like next to each other, or, one space.
Maybe they both had those spaces already, and
yeah,
GameStop just happens to own ThinkGeek now.
Yeah, well, what's left of ThinkGeek? I mean,
yeah,
I think you're putting like too much stock into this. Like, I'm sure there'll be like a few more Microsoft crap laying around, but it's not going to mean a hill of beans to like the regular person who walks in there.
No, I'm sure
and
not. Especially if you're not there for Microsoft stuff.
I also think like it might actually, like, imagine if you go into one of these places and you go, "Hey, do you have an Xbox or a PS5?" Then the clerk says, "Oh, we have one PS5 or no PS5s, or we have 20 Xboxes." So they're gonna go, "What's the problem with that?" Or why do you have so many? Or what's wrong with it? That's a bigger question.
I don't think that there's all of a sudden gonna be this like surplus of Xbox stuff in there either.
No.
Like, I think we'll see more Microsoft branding, and like maybe they start selling maybe those Surfaces that you see, they start selling those or things like that. But like, yeah.
I guess the nicest thing is like, I mean, if you go into like a Best Buy and you actually see like the computers they use, it is like fucking 20-year-old technology. Like,
yeah.
So if they upgrade the computers at least, it'd be kind of nice, like their point of sale system, but I doubt it.
Well, that's what it felt like to me, is a lot of it's the infrastructure. It's not so much because I mean, it's not like they're gonna stop selling Nintendo and PlayStation stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's like, but I mean, it's nice. It's like, it's the same thing as Microsoft technically helps Sony with their infrastructure for their streaming. So like, it's kind of like that. It's not so much we're gonna see a ton of things change, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it's like a little bit of a helping hand, and we'll see what goes on after.
I remember back in the day, like Sony actually used to have stores. It's up like by itself that sold Sony crap, and that went away a long time ago.
Oh well, that because most of they used to be known for so many other things, and now it's like PlayStation is one of the biggest things keeping them afloat.
Yeah.
Like, remember they had phones? Whenever they had their TVs where, like, everybody wanted a Sony, and now it's like there's so many different options. Sony's so expensive on the TV, and that...
Although it is always hysterical when you watch like a Sony-sponsored TV show or movie, everyone has like a Vio, like laptop.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like,
people still really want those?
Well, it's like, first of all, they're barely sold in stores anymore, and second of all, it's really conspicuous. It's incredibly distracting. Like, see some high tech spy put a Sony Vaio laptop. It's like, really? Like,
yeah, like there's not a better computer they could have right now. But speaking of Sony, we're talking about them again because they also revealed trophies are getting like upgraded.
Yeah, that happened to me actually. Yeah.
So the trophy levels basically went from 1 to 100 to 1 to 999.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Microsoft will probably do the same thing. Sure.
Yeah, my trophy level went from like 17 to like 300 or something, or like 400 or something like crazy. I mean, okay, sure, I guess. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, cool.
I checked my trophy level.
I'm guessing the people that like really love their trophies, and there's a lot of people that do. You will...
Yeah, those people are weird. I mean, It's kind of nice, but like trophies and achievements haven't mattered for years.
Oh, there's people that still just absolutely love going and getting. I like that little thing that pops up when you do something. They still like I completed like the first level in Doom or whatever, and it did that. It gave me like 60 G or whatever. It's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, my trophy is like level is like 306. I just checked. I mean, it's cool for games that you care about, but I mean, most of the time it's just like, all right, sure.
Yeah, there's not like. I feel like the achievement hunting thing was a bigger thing previously. It wasn't.
Yeah, but even like achievements for 360 were the big thing, but achievements for like the Xbox One, like no one really cared because it didn't seem like Microsoft cared either.
Well, also, I mean, think about the amount of people that owned an Xbox One compared to a 360 as well.
I mean, Persona 5 Royal was cool because like once you got certain trophies, it unlocked like themes, or like that's what they should be doing more of.
Yeah, they really should. They should do things like that unlock other things besides just, oh, it's a score, cool. And,
or like, hey, here's a new gamer icon. It's like, okay, great, thanks.
Some people like changing those, but again, that's I think a very small.
Yeah.
It's like the same people that like changing their avatar on a message board or whatever.
Right. Or like, I mean, at least the 360 avatar stuff was kind of worthwhile for a little bit.
I like those. I still have my little guy there.
And I think didn't they try to like retrofit avatars back into the Xbox One and no one cared?
They did. It wasn't as nice as the 360 one, so yeah, that's why nobody cared, really.
Yeah, like they didn't have the customization or even like the buying options. It's like, hey, if I can't buy RoboCop's head, then what's the point?
And it's not really like movable. Like he didn't move around and stuff like that. Like on the 360, it kind of felt like it was a thing.
Also, it seemed like no game really used it.
Oh no! Well, yeah, it was really just a thing to have. That's it.
Yeah.
And also, this was so silly, but like apparently there's an improvement being made to like the online store, and on mobile.
I talked to Jens about this, and he's pissed.
That you can't you can't buy PS3, PSP, or PS Vita games through the PSN anymore.
Yeah. It's basically you can only buy game. Like if you want to buy a PS3 game, you have to like boot up a PS3 and like buy it from that PSN or from that.
I mean, are you really using your PS3 still at this point? I guess Jens is.
That's what I told Jens, but I guess he's still a big PS Vita user, and like he's like, oh, I just did it like last week, and I was like, I'm thinking like, oh, you're the one, okay.
Like, okay, you're still using your Vita, cool, man. We'll see if we're not at this point.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean. It's kind of a drag, but also, like, I'm sure it's just legacy network crap. They just don't, it's just not, economically viable enough for them to keep up.
We know their infrastructure is not, it's always kind of wonky with their online, so the fact that your old stuff for consoles that they no longer use, and most people don't, is not continuing to like exist doesn't surprise at all. Like, yes, those stores should only work on those systems if you're still using them. I mean, yes, it's cool to like be able to go on the website and just, it's cool to go on the website and just be like, okay, I want to buy this old PS3 game, cool, and then go in and download it. But, I mean, are you really still booting up your PS3 at this point? Like, Not really, unless you're needing to play some PS2 classic that, I mean, there is a lot of PS2 classics and PS1 classics that are still not available outside of emulation that are on there. But again, like, that's just a very small crowd of people.
Yeah, it's such a, like, small case, or, just such a small number of cases. I'm sure that's like, we don't care, like.
Also, my PS3 still has that. I was scared it would do that same thing like the PS4 does, where it runs.
Oh yeah, mine too.
So loud that I was like, oh my god, I feel like this thing's gonna blow up.
I have I bought it used, but I have a launch model Sony 60 gigabyte PS3, which is nuts.
Yeah, that's great. But it made sense to have because it's the only one that could do the backward compat.
Yeah, that's why I bought it, because of that stuff. But I'm like, yeah, like, even when I bought it, it sounded loud. And I got it like used from like GameStop back in the day. And it's like, I haven't turned that thing on for years. Like, if I ever do turn it back on, I'll need to get it cleaned out first.
That's exactly where I got mine too. I actually had to, what was it? The first one I got had a problem where it like would keep freezing or whatever, so I had to buy another one.
Okay.
And yeah.
Mine still, last time I tried it, it worked, but that was like 6 years ago. And also, I think the last thing I tried was Yakuza 5. I got like a code for it, and the game install was too big for my hard drive.
Oh, the game itself was bigger than the 60 gigs or whatever?
Yeah, because it needed like double the space to like download the file and then unzip it. And it's like, oops. It's like, you need 7 gigabytes more. And I'm like, I already cleared out this hard drive as much as I can. Like,
yep, impossible. Speaking of Yakuza, since it used to be a big Japan-only thing, they are apparently changing the PS5 controller in Japan to where, for the longest time, and this was the way that Final Fantasy VII worked, where circle was confirm and X was cancel.
Yeah.
And I remember having to get used to that because every other game was the opposite. And it's been that way for a long time. For even the PS4 used it this way. But for PS5, the X button will be confirmed on PS5, even in Japan. So
here's the thing. Why can't you just remap that on the system level?
I don't know. Right? Like you can't, but that's always been a game thing, right? Whether you could remap buttons or not.
I mean, some games, not every game, but yeah. But it's like, the Switch lets you do that. Like, it's not every single, thing, but you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, they did add that, like, to the firmware for the PS4 at one point.
Okay, yeah, I thought they did too, but
yeah.
I mean, sure, if just people just go in and change it back, probably, and, or not. I mean, if they may just get used to it.
Yeah.
I think it feels more natural to have X be cancel or X be confirm and circle be cancel, but hey, what do I know?
Right.
I am used to it, so that's why I say that, I guess.
Yeah, I think I would go in and change it on Final Fantasy VII because it would annoy the crap out of me. I'm like, oh, no. I'm not doing this. We have to do this for one game and the other games, no.
Yeah.
I do remember having to do that back in the day. I don't remember which console it was. There was a lot of games I would play. There was 2 games I would play and they had completely different controls and I would confuse myself going back and forth between doing, I think it was 2 sports games that I played, that happened with.
I guess, I think, the Mario Switch collection thing, it has like inverted camera controls and it annoyed some people.
Oh yes, that is very annoying. Like if you're not used to using invert controls, then yeah.
And you can't switch it back in the system level. Like, people were hopeful you could, but you can't. So they're just pissed.
Well, they'll get over it. They'll just still play the game anyway, probably.
Yep.
And, well, Microsoft is also, they teamed up with GameStop. They had to fight off a rumor of the Series X getting hot. And now they have finally figured out a wraparound. Very interesting that after Amazon announces that they kind of come up with a wraparound with their streaming thing that hasn't even really come out yet, Microsoft then announced that they will have a Game Pass browser app that will allow them to basically go around the iOS's thing of, well, you got to go through the App Store and blah, 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 and
Maybe Epic should do this, and they just got burned again by the courts today.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise that they ruled in Apple's favor. I mean,
yeah.
Did they really expect that it's Apple's store? They can do whatever the heck they want. And also, they're not the market leader everywhere. If they were the market leader everywhere, like Microsoft had to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Then you would probably have won, but you're not. You are the market leader only in America. And even then, it's not like Android and Samsung have this this absolutely lesser, fan base or whatever. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know, Google taking out of their store, that's another thing, but.
I see this as an interesting thing, but I see this as being very touchy, or avenues to be screwed with, or hacked, or something like that, honestly.
Yeah, how well is this gonna work? Is this gonna work like, Game Pass does in the other situations?
Yeah.
They're supposed to make xCloud work on the PC at some point. And they are gonna want to bring, xCloud to all of the other platforms that it was going to be on. But, I think this is good. If it ends up working and Microsoft can get it to work, then, Apple may have to reconsider something. I don't know if they're going to be able to put a block into Safari or into Chrome to be able to block this, but we'll see. They're saying it'll happen in 2021. I don't know. Maybe they'll work something out. Who knows? But the fact that Amazon is not wanting to deal with Apple should probably tell you what's going to happen with Microsoft. But yeah, I just found that interesting that Microsoft's determined, and why wouldn't they, right? If you can get these people to play on iOS and pay your $15, man, that's a heck of a lot more people that are paying you money. And also, hot off the presses of Bethesda being bought by Microsoft. Bethesda are now announcing compilations, which I don't know how many people are going to buy said compilations on an Xbox platform. But
you're not going to buy the Prey compilation?
Sure. I think it's good that these are coming out, right? All these games have been out already, so they should have collections at this point. But yeah, look, you got Wolfenstein, which is had 4 different games, made for it. So yeah, it should be a collection, right? Dishonored 3 games collection. Prey, I don't know about that being
all
a
2 Prey games.
Well, it's the Arcane collection, right? So,
all
Prey and the
game.
DLC.
Yeah.
And
Wolfenstein has at least 9 Wolfenstein games, or at least 5.
Well, it's the new ones, right? It's not.
Yeah, but they own all the old ones too.
Yeah.
So you have to imagine they just put that in there as extras. It's like, hey, here's a PC version of Wolfenstein, something like that.
Well,
Beyond Castle Wolfenstein.
So far, it's just the recent release ones. It's not the other ones.
Yeah.
But still, I think it's neat. If this is all stuff that's gonna. Dishonored is already on Game Pass, and so Prey was gonna leave, and then now it's not. Most of the stuff, if it's not on, it's gonna be on Game Pass at some point and just stay there. So at least on an Xbox platform, even on PC, how many people are gonna buy this? I don't know, but on PS4, and who knows if they're gonna get on PS4, maybe. I just don't know. How many people actually own all these games separately? Also.
Yeah, the Prey collection is you can still buy that game. It's not like I think about the BioShock or the.
Well, plus you can buy Dishonored for cheap as hell. Dishonored 1 and 2.
Prey 2, yeah.
Yeah.
At least BioShock, those are the previous generation consoles.
Yeah.
So is this, but it's everyone's already kind of played it. There's no great love for Prey 2, no offense to it, but I think it's too new of a game, or just too, current.
Yeah. No, these are neat ideas. If you happen to run across somebody that just has never played these, and wants them, then cool, right? But I think for anybody that has been a gamer at all within these previous generations has played this at some point. It's been released as part of a PS Plus or Games for Gold. It's been, it's been on a sale. You probably bought it on a sale really cheap, right?
Yeah.
So, and probably can get it on a sale really cheap right now, somewhere. So that's the thing too, right? Again, neat idea for Bethesda, but I don't think this is going to be like raking them in money or anything.
Unless it was like every game for like one package. I mean, that may be fine, but I doubt they're
for like
that.
very, very cheap price, then sure.
Yeah, it's like,
because those are great games that you're getting, for the most part. I mean, some of the Wolfenstein expansions are not so great, but
I mean, I didn't like Wolfenstein 2, so okay.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I liked Wolfenstein 2, the story. I didn't necessarily like I had to play it on baby mode because it
was hard. I mean,
yeah, it was
also the PC version was like screwed up, but I got to the New York City, like the skyscraper part, when you hook up with the one chick, and like, it's just like a non-stop, like, enemies assaulting you, and I was like, this is not fun.
Yeah, no, it's not. Was not at all.
And I also didn't like how they made it like more of a shooter and less of a stealth game. Because I like that in the other one, the first.
Yeah, I like that you had the option in the first one to do both if you wanted, and this one did not really give you that option at all.
Nope.
Well, we're gonna go into a territory of people being terrible on the internet. Wait, when does that not happen? Yeah, I know. But so Spider-Man devs are now getting online harassment from recasting Peter Parker's face, and to them I say, really?
To them I see it's called gamers being gamers.
It's like, this is one of the reasons why you'll see a lot of people that like to play games that do not want to even be associated with the word gamer, because you have so many people act like this over a face that you hardly see in that game. He is under the mask most of the time. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I get it. He doesn't look the same. Oh my god, but it's a remaster. They can do what they want. You don't have to buy the remaster. You can play your PS4 version just fine. It's like, God.
Yeah,
it's not like they went and changed Mario's face or like Crash's face, or I don't know, like something more iconic than, you've had 3 different Spider-Mans in the live action movies. Like, the hell?
It was like some, is it Insomniac?
Yeah, Insomniac's one that makes it.
It was like the Insomniac, like, community manager said he was like getting death threats, and just, you guys gotta shake your head and go, you people are idiots. Like,
come on. Like, geez, people. Again, like, doing that online does not help you. It just makes things worse for people. And especially in a time when we don't need any more negativity than we already have. Especially with, an election coming in less than a month. Like, come on. Just stop doing dumb shit. Speaking of having to do, shitty things, thanks to that stuff with, Mike Zammont at Lab Zero Games, 505 has now announced that Indivisible, which, as a game I really enjoyed, is not going to receive any more new content. Well, there went the cup that I had. Thank God it didn't have anything in it. So, Lab Zero is not going to get any more content after the upcoming Switch patch.
Yeah.
And
I guess it's missing like a bunch of, promised or, announced guest characters.
Yeah, which sucks. Like, people that are really enjoying those games are enjoying that game, and that game is beautiful looking, by the way, and it's a fun, side-scrolling game that was very well done. I've played it on both the Xbox and Switch, and again, very much enjoyed. It just really sucks that they didn't get to finish what they want because this idiot here, making, inappropriate sexual comments and doing things he shouldn't be doing. And yeah, I don't blame 505, but a lot of the major staff got either walked out the door or got,
fired,
let go, and
yeah,
that's not a whole lot you can do. It's just, this wasn't a great week for game dev stuff.
I guess that, I mean, this isn't like that newsworthy, but that Crucible game also just finally got a stake put through it.
Yeah, I can't comment because I never played it or anything.
Yeah,
but
neither did I.
It doesn't surprise me at all that a game that got unreleased, basically, is now been canned completely. Like, again, proving that maybe Amazon just needs to not make games. You know, just because you're a big company doesn't mean that you need to put your finger in everything. Or put your pie in the, you know. It's like,
yeah. I think there was a article by, I want to say Cecilia D'Anastasio, about, like, Amazon, like, why they keep trying to make games. And her takeaway was basically hubris, like they think they can, or they just have the money to.
yeah.
But it's like, that's not a good reason, or that's not a valid enough reason, because her article is basically like, oh, they have a ton of people and, a ton of money, but there's no passion to make games.
Yeah, it's like you can say what you want about Microsoft, but at least those people are passionate about the game development. And Microsoft went and didn't buy, like, man, they went and bought Bethesda, but the other studios that they acquired were not these, like, humongous studios that, you know, they went and bought these small studios, you know, NXile, Double Fine, you know, and you know, Obsidian is sort of, you know,
well, say what
big.
you want, like the guy who runs Microsoft, like he's an actual gamer, or, you know, he's been around.
Yeah, like Phil Spencer has absolutely turned the perception of Xbox around from the terrible Don Matrick years, where it feels more like a game company that is inside this huge company instead of this business that is trying to be in video games. You know,
yeah.
So
her article was, Amazon wants to quote unquote win at games, so why hasn't it? And it's like, no.
It's the same thing of like Amazon having that streaming thing. Like, good on them for having something that's cheaper than Stadia and whatever, and the fact that they have Twitch, I think might help them. Yeah. But I still don't think you're gonna have all these people deciding that they want to just do the streaming thing. Like, there's a reason why PC and consoles are still selling, because people want those systems, and the infrastructure is not there to support that. It's gonna be a niche thing, and I think until maybe 5G will help it, and this is, you know, way down the line, if Amazon and Google can survive long enough in those, in that realm, if they don't just decide to quit.
But, I mean, I could see Amazon staying in, I mean, even if it's a big failure, because they're just like that, but I don't see Google Stadia lasting past 2 more years, given how it's
Google is so bad about just dropping shit when they feel like it. So. Yeah,
or, you know, the minute it's not even profitable as it is, but, like, they announced those, like, new Chromecasts for, like, 2021, and they're not Stadia compatible. And it's like
that doesn't make sense when Stadia is not old, it's new.
Yeah.
Stupid. I wonder if that just means already Google's, like, turning their eye to something else and not bothering with Stadia. Yeah, so that's not great. And, something I wanted to talk about, so I'm gonna be upfront here and say that, you know, I never made a game before. Anything that I've learned about game development is from reading articles, reading books, or, you know, listening to creators talk about their process. So I'm not going to sit here and try to say that I know everything about what it takes to make a game or anything like that. I wanted to preface that by saying that I feel like, you know, Cyberpunk 2077 has come under a lot of fire for various reasons. You know, they delayed the game a couple of times. And recently, you know, this is something that really we should have talked about last week, but I left it alone because I knew something like this was going to happen. Because when it comes to crunch, it's like an ever-evolving story a lot with these games that come under fire for it, like Last of Us did. Like Red Dead did. Not that it makes people worry about whether they buy the game or not, because obviously those games sell, and Cyberpunk will sell. But obviously buying the game also helps those developers as well, so, you know, that's the thing you have to weigh. But I think, like, you know, I have a lot of respect for Jason Schreier as a reporter. Obviously, he has a lot of good contacts. He has made a name for himself now as someone that reports on Crunch. And now that he's at Bloomberg, of course, he probably has even more license to do that because they like hard news stuff. And they're not a video game focused thing like Kotaku was. So, like, I get it, and he obviously wants people to know that Crunch is not great, especially when it's mandatory. But I think sometimes, like, I'm starting to get this vibe, especially this week after he's been in the news a lot for just not being a great person.
See, I don't follow him, so I don't know any of the drama. So.
Well, he blocks almost anyone that I just been like trying not to get in the conversation because I feel like if I ask any question, it'll just block me. Even though I could just use the network Twitter to find out anything because, you know.
It's like that platinum development guy.
Yeah, it's like, he's very much like, no, but he's even worse. Like, at least Kamiya has like reasons to do that because people are mostly just bashing him, but people ask legitimate questions to him about things or point out discrepancies in how he pushes what sometimes feels like an agenda and they get blocked, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, Game Informer did a 10-minute, really good discussion on the subject of CD Projekt Red and how differences in, you know, our culture here in the United States to over there in Poland and what they think about work practices over there and the way things are protected there as to here. And the fact that, yes, the company did say they weren't going to do crunch, right? They weren't going to do mandatory crunch. And apparently there have been certain workers that have been crunching for a year. But when your head of the company says they're going to take 10% of the profits of the game and give it to those workers, and also they're going to be handsomely paid for the last part of the game that they're pushing to make, they've already gone gold, and that they're pushing to do so they can get it out and they don't have to delay it again, which that's something that the workers decided not to do. They didn't want to delay the game again. Because why? Because a lot of times when you delay the game, that just means you got to crunch longer. So, like, I get it. Like, I totally understand what Jason's trying to do. And I think that that's admirable. I think that that's good that he's pointing out crunch in the gaming industry. A lot of times developers are very terribly underpaid and forced to overwork. But I think in the case of CD Projekt Red, I think we need to kind of give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt of like, yes, there were people that probably didn't want to do it, right? But I think there was a lot that felt like, let's just get this over with. Let's just get this out the door and then deal with the other stuff that comes afterwards. So like fixing bugs and doing the DLC or doing the update or doing the whatever, you know, like let's get the major piece out of the way. And I don't blame them for that. Like there's jobs in every job. Like, I mean, overtime in my job is totally optional, right? A job that I had before, it wasn't. There was times where we had a situation happen and if you worked in that department that dealt with that, you didn't have an option. You had to stay there until that was over. You got paid the overtime, right? But you didn't have the option of saying, oh no, I'm not doing this. Because it was a small team and that meant everybody had to be held accountable and you were going to be looked at differently if you said no. And like, but that happens in a lot of jobs. And I think this idea of, oh, this only happens in the game industry is weird too. And
yeah, think about like store clerks, like Walmart people who like work on Thanksgiving or Black Friday. You think they want to be there? Like,
I mean, there's a lot of jobs where you have to work a 12-hour shift. That's just how it goes. And like, and not even that. Yeah, go ahead.
I think crunch can go overboard, but I mean, especially in Poland, it's better than fucking, you know, pulling a wagon.
Yeah, it's just different.
Metal,
in Poland, it's a different thing than the way it is here. I think that's the part that's being, like, I totally agree. Mandatory crunch is awful. It's awful. It takes away from your family. It puts you in terrible situations. You don't want to have to be basically living at the office and all that stuff. Like, nobody wants to do that. But I think when you as a company decide, hey, well, let's push hard to get this thing out the door so we can just get it out, I think that's a different thing than then oh my god, we've had to been working the same way for months and months and months and years. And like, I think, we saw it with a Rockstar and, The Last of Us Last of Us 2, that it was revealed that basically the delay meant that people were just crunching longer. It wasn't necessarily that, they got more time to work on it.
It goes back to the old, EA spouse thing, and that was 15 years ago, I think. Maybe even longer.
Yeah, it's just, I think, again, people should be able to have a difference of opinion and, not be just made to feel like crap because they don't agree with this leading person's view on what crunch is or how it should be dealt with, that it should be, nobody should ever do it. And I think it's almost unavoidable in any kind of software industry. There's a deadline at some point, and what are you going to do to make that deadline? You cannot just delay a game forever. Yes, you can delay things, and I think we'd all love to say, oh yeah, I'll wait another year or I'll wait another 2 years or whatever, but it's at some point that money starts, I think it's a lot easier to say for everybody to say, oh, I'll wait, but you're not the one you're not that publisher, right? I think it's different than Activision also. It's not Bobby Kotick making $30 million a year and all these other people making nothing.
Well, look at Duke Nukem Forever. I mean, they pushed it and pushed it and pushed it, and it eventually came out and it was a mess, but also, it'd come out 10 years earlier with the original, framework in mind. It might have been better.
Well, Final Fantasy 15 was the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Look at the mess that it turned into. I mean, it's a good game.
I mean, I would say, the difference with that is, Final Fantasy 15 is a good game, is a good game, but also, it was too long in development. I mean, I blame that more on Nomura, but...
Yeah, but, that was a thing of, man, we could have had a nice, story that made sense and all the parts were in it instead of the mess that it turned to and you didn't even get to finish it because, some part of me worries that Final Fantasy VII Remake would wind up that way. That we're gonna put this so long in the tooth that it becomes to the point where you don't get to finish that either.
No, I think they'll finish that. I mean, they're gonna have to, but, yeah.
Or, well, maybe they have to jam more stuff into it and make less parts than they wanted to because it's going to be crazy.
It's going to be like Shenmue 3 or Shenmue 2 when they're like, oh, this is supposed to only be the second part, but now I got to cram parts 2 through 7 into this thing.
Yeah, no, that's what I am legitimately worried about that in a way of yes, it'll probably sell. You won't have to worry about not making enough money out of it, but the development time, the time you're taking to do all this stuff and redo all of this stuff and decide what you put in, what you don't, what cities you go to, what you don't, what mini games are in and what are not, and how you're going to do this and do that. And it's eventually that gets tiring. And let's say you get to part 2 and a part 3, and then when you've still got half the game to do,
let me tell you about a little game called Star Citizen.
Yeah. Well, that was a total mess on another end, but yeah, I just feel like these people that have just gotten demonized by Mr. Schreier's loving fans, to say the least, don't deserve it, because that guy is the one that's being an absolute a-hole to push being correct about everything when maybe you need to be a little bit more open-minded about it and not just hateful is what it feels like.
Yeah.
And crunch is not great. I want to state that. Crunch is not great, but there are different aspects to it that I think people need to consider sometimes.
Right.
I don't think what CD Projekt Red is doing is the same as things we've seen other companies do. That is terrible. The mental aspect of what those people have to go through is awful. I don't begrudge it on anyone. That the stories I have seen on Twitter, I've heard on people talk about, is that I've read in books, that's awful. I don't want to see people have to go through that. But it sucks. It's just the way you handle it, I think, is more than anything.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, or like we both said, it happens in every job at some point, so.
Yeah. And also just because Avengers is also going through some issues because
Yeah. No one cares.
they even had to come out with a statement that they're hoping that the PC base comes back.
Well, yeah, the
Or,
PC player base has dropped to like below 1,000 players, which
Yeah.
that's not
It's
great.
Not
Like,
great, no.
I don't.
For
I don't
an
even think,
ongoing game like that, no.
I mean, I kind of looked at the Steam charts a little. Like by the end of it, Marvel Heroes was getting to like below 1,000 players, but that game was around for like 4 years.
Yeah, but also I
Like-
think there was a cloud hanging over it for a while where people knew it was going to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, like Marvel Heroes, it averaged about at least about 2,000 people per day. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want, but like that's better than this game at the moment.
It was mainly about it had bugs, so they've kept having to release patches.
Yeah,
to,
like they have like
you
this
know.
whole. They had this whole like content roadmap they basically thrown out the window because they have to work on fixing the game first.
Yeah, which
and
is
it's
never
like-
great.
Don't you guys at a certain point shouldn't you like learn from like Final Fantasy 14 or Destiny or like other games of this ilk and go, wait a second, maybe we shouldn't release it in a broken state
Well,
first.
especially
and, like,
being Square Enix, you have Final Fantasy 14 to look at.
yeah, I don't think it's as bad as like original Final Fantasy 14, but it's like there's a lesson to be learned in this, and why didn't you learn it? Like,
I mean, there's definitely people enjoying the game and have gotten a lot out of the game. I think it's also the mission structure, and apparently once you complete the story,
you can't
it's
replace single player
it's
missions.
not the funnest thing to do is go back and play all those missions and stuff.
Well, you can't play them. You have to like delete your save to replay them.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah, and that's cool. Like,
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I mean,
Whatever.
Yeah. I just think it's funny because it's like, they're like, we're going to support this game for years. And it's like, yeah, okay, until the player base is dead and 6 months from now you release like one new character and you just quietly dump it. Or make it just free to play and then just gets a lot of people to play it just like Destiny.
Well, speaking of getting an update, Mortal Kombat 11 is going to get more playable fighters. Molina is coming.
Rain.
And Rain is coming, which I know Saki was absolutely in love with that. And Rambo with Sylvester Stallone doing the voice.
Ah, yes, Rambo, everyone's favorite Mortal Kombat character.
I mean, they had Negan from Walking Dead, and it doesn't really surprise me. It's like,
I mean, that game is so goofy. They have a game that has like a RoboCop, Terminator,
yeah,
and Spawn fighting, against
why
Rambo.
not have Rambo?
All right, I guess. Yeah, I
And
guess
also, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate is going to have 4K, enhanced visuals, improved loading times, and you'll get your smart delivery, and the PS4 version will also upgrade free of charge too. So that's cool.
Yeah, I guess if you can't get Ash Williams from Evil Dead, Rambo's the next best thing.
Yeah, why not? And Need for Speed Hot Pursuit is going to get a remaster. It's coming out November 6th, so very close to when those. November 13th for Switch. So again, another game that comes out on November 13th. My God. Thankfully, Yakuza got moved up because, we don't need another game coming out that day. And November 6th for PS4, Xbox One, PC. It's going to cost $40 on
Yeah.
consoles and $25 on, or was it $30 on PC?
Yeah.
So that's good. It's made by the same studio made Burnout Paradise Remastered, which that was pretty fine.
Yep.
And it's going to have new achievements and car colors and all that stuff. So you were talking about that last week. This is the Need for Speed everybody likes.
Well, this is a confirmation trailer, and yeah, they finally officially released it or announced it instead of just rumors. I'll probably try to get this. I mean, I like that game quite a bit.
Yeah, I'll see. Definitely a game I like, but so much happening around that time. It's,
Yeah.
It's strapped for cash. Has never been more at that point.
Right.
And also Resident Evil is getting so they had the Netflix series got revealed last week, right?
A few weeks ago. Yeah.
And then now they've revealed that they're going to do a reboot of the movie series.
Yep.
With obviously different, characters and actors and actresses.
Well, it's gonna
thank
like
God.
it's gonna somewhat follow the first two games. Like they're gonna have like Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine.
And
Here's
Claire
the weird
Redfield.
thing. Yeah, well, no, that's the thing is the guy is like, the director said, I want to get back to the first two games. So they're going to have Chris and Claire Redfield and Leon Kennedy and Jill Valentine. The problem with this conceptually is the first
And
game.
Wesker.
Yeah, and like William Birkin. But it's like conceptually, the first game is like 1996. That's when it's supposed to take place. The second game is supposed to take place like months later. So it's like, how are you going to do this? Are you going to have like the first like 20 minutes or half hour be like Resident Evil 1 and then like the rest of the movie be Resident Evil 2? Or
with the way movies go now, it might be the whole first hour is Resident Evil 1 and the second hour is Resident Evil 2 because now movies have to be like 2 hours.
I mean, here's the thing. The thing about this is they actually have a good cast. Kaya Scodelario, whatever her last name.
Scodelario?
Yeah. Scodelario, yeah. She's Claire. Hannah John Kamen is Jill Valentine. I think she'd be really good. Like she has that kind of look to her.
Yeah, Robbie Amell's good. I liked him in Upload.
Yeah, he'll be Chris Redfield and Avon Georgia, I guess, will be Leon S. Kennedy. He didn't really look like Leon, but whatever. That's a decent cast, better than like Mila Jovovich.
Yeah.
And,
thank God. We don't need that.
But
should just go read Monster Hunter now.
Yeah, he's gonna infect that piece of crap. But it's just like such a weird like. And I saw that, I'm like, that's a good cast. Like I can see everyone in that role, especially like Robbie Amell as Chris. I was like, yeah, he looks boring enough to be that character. I'll buy that. But I just thought, like, how do they do this movie? Like,
it's gonna be interesting. Like, are they gonna eventually break it off into 2 movies and they just have all the cast ready, or like,
or
I wonder if that's what's gonna wind up happening. They're gonna get into production and pre-production and all that stuff, and they're gonna be like, maybe we just need to do this in 2 movies.
Yeah.
Just do Resident Evil 1 and then just do Resident Evil 2, and
I mean,
why does nobody want to do some Resident Evil 0?
Well, that was the whole backstory about, or the whole reason for like Claire Redfield in Resident Evil 2. She's like, I'm looking for my brother. He's been missing for months. So, like the whole like mansion incident was like took place like months before.
Right.
And it's like, all right. I mean, like you said, I'll just do Resident Evil 1 as a movie, or like at the very end, maybe introduce like Claire and Leon. That's it. Like have Chris Redfield and Sherry Birkin, or Sherry, not Birkin. I can't forget the medic's name. Damn. The little helper medic in Resident Evil 1. She was in Resident Evil 0 also.
Yeah.
And Barry and Jill Valentine, and they explore the mansion together. And, Wesker just kind of screwing with them. But,
yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, this gives me a lot more hope than most other game movies, because they actually have real actors. Or, this sounds more believable, at least.
It seems like there's definitely an intention of, like, righting the wrongs.
Yeah.
Right? And that's with, like, Resident Evil 1 not being that bad of a movie by itself. But then when you put in the rest of the, like, ridiculous, it shouldn't have been a 6-movie franchise that came after it. Yeah.
I have a real hatred of Resident Evil 1 just because, like, why is it called Resident Evil? Like, it just has nothing to do with the game except for zombies and, like, the liquor. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, 2, even though it wasn't a very good movie, had more to do with, like, 2 and 3 than... Yeah. At least had some of the characters.
I think they finally introduced, I think they introduced in that one, like, Claire Redfield, and, like, Ali Larter as Claire. And they started like,
and Jill, they had Jill, and then they had.
I was Jill. Yeah, they introduced Claire later on. That you're right. She's still wearing that stupid miniskirt outfit.
Yeah, but whatever. Thankfully, that's behind us. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm more excited than most movies based on games, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. We'll obviously get more details there. So. Well, that's gonna, do it for us here. Let me see, but, yeah, I mean, there's been a lot, and I'm sure there'll be, again, we're now a month away from Xbox Series X launching, and then almost a month away from the PS5 launching. Will be interesting to see if we get any more secret, pre-orders coming out or anything like that.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually listened to some old GameSpot podcasts from like 2006.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the PS3 launch and how big of a mess that was. And I was just like, yep, it's nice to see nothing changed.
And then, the mess of a launch of the Xbox One.
Yeah.
So, that'll be interesting how that's going to work. I might get Randy to record something to give thoughts on Crash. I should have done that, but I'll do it for next week, I guess. And Daniel's playing Baldur's Gate.
I've heard a lot of mixed things about that game.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of
which is like baffling. I read the Ars Technica write-up, and they're just like, "Oh, the game's buggy, and it's kind of a
it is early access. I mean,
and I'm just like, yeah, that's how games should be in early access. Like, it doesn't need to be fully functional. Like, that's the whole damn point."
Yeah, I mean, if you bought it in early access and you're expecting it to work wonderfully, then you obviously have not played early access stuff before. It's not a full release game. So, yeah, it's the same thing like when I got the Temtem code and started playing, I very well knew that they were going to keep adding stuff to the game and they was going to be constantly changing, and, that's just things that you kind of have to understand. You're buying in early access, you get to play the game right now, but it may not play like a great game until later.
Yeah, they'll have like the basic ideas are in place, but the polish work, I mean, that's months, if not years off. It's like, yeah, like either get used to it or wait a few months or, a year or two.
Yeah, and I've been playing two very interesting two very different strategy games that have been got released on Game Pass recently that I'll talk about next week. And yeah, more, I don't think that there's, like, Cloudpunk comes out next week. That Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, I think, comes to other consoles. It's been on...
Can't wait.
It was good, apparently.
More Walking Dead crap.
And Little Witch Academia is also getting a VR thing, that was weird. Torchlight 3 comes out as well. Which that also hasn't gotten the best,
Yeah, the early reviews of that were pretty negative also.
Yeah. And The Survivalist comes out, which is like another escapist, made by the Escapist people, which I'm sure if you like that, then it should be fine.
I guess those Prinny games are finally coming to the Switch next week.
Yes, those Prinny 1 and 2 Exploded are coming. Which, if you like, those games are like some underappreciated gems really hard underappreciated gems from the PSP. So cool that they're getting to come to a new system. And Robotics, No to Lead is actually a pretty good visual novel that people should check out if you're into those.
And I know the game that Jens has already pre-ordered and preloaded probably, Onichimbara Origin.
Are you gonna review that again?
No.
Yeah,
one of those dumb games was enough.
But yeah, I don't know that there's anything I'm like super... I've been enjoying, yeah.
I'm looking at like a, new release list and like Pikmin 3 like later in the month maybe. That's kind of about it for me.
Yeah, it's a lot of like indie smaller stuff right now. And the new Dark Pictures comes out at the end.
Oh god.
As well. You might get stuck reviewing that.
So, maybe if I could blow through it again co-op, but even that wasn't a great experience.
Yeah. You never know. Maybe you will. But I have been playing Ekenfell and what is it? Dang it, I can't remember the name right now. Jesus. Okay, I think it's like Star Renegades or there's like so many Star something games. Yeah, Star Renegades, that's right, Star Renegades. They're both strategy games, very interesting, but two very different ones. One's more like the traditional look of a strategy game, kind of has that like top-down look, and then it kind of goes into this like RPG trading turns thing, and then Ekenfell does sort of the same thing where it's got this like 8 8-bit-ish, 16-bit-ish look. But then when you like go into a battle, it goes into like a strategy game where you move around but you take turns. So yeah, like kind of interesting that two games like same genre but different come to Game Pass pretty quick. So yeah, I'll talk more about those next week. And yeah, Mark already has the review for Solitaire Conspiracy. Yep. I'll get that posted for the next one. And yeah, we're kind of just playing that waiting game until November when we get fall release.
That and like the new consoles are the big thing.
Yeah, the new console and then everything coming out around it, like Yakuza and Dirt 5 and Falconeer,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Fuser also comes out around then. It's that Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory comes out. Demon Souls. I mean, Cyberpunk. I mean, it's all coming. It's all coming. We're just gonna be inundated between the new consoles and just more games. So yeah, get ready, folks. Get ready. But all right. Until next week, you can subscribe wherever it is you listen to podcasts. Hopefully, many of you have been. And you can always review us where you listen to podcasts. Apple Podcasts always helps the most. But wherever it is you listen to podcasts or on Podchaser, it is very lovely that you do that. So, once again, shout out to Jens for helping with the editing and always listen to Chapter Select. They released 2 new episodes, one with Judgment Part 3, and they talked about other games, and also their first, like, looking at video game movies. They watched the Yakuza Like a Dragon, like, Japanese film, or just the Like a Dragon.
Like 2007, I think. I'll look it up for a second. Yeah.
So definitely should go check that out too. But alright, until next time. See you later.
Later.